रेप कानूनों में संशोधन पर पी चिदंबरम प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहे हैं, सीधे लिए चलते हैं आप।
Chief Justice Verma has since stated that government should act on the report promptly and make an ordinance. The advantage of an ordinance as sent by the President and any crime against women committed during the period when the law is in the making will be punishable only under the existing law. Since there is a universal demand that the laws must be amended immediately and criminal law can only apply prospectively, the government came to the conclusion that there was a strong case to promulgate an ordinance. Government hopes that the stringent provisions in the ordinance will have a deterrent effect on potential criminals during the period between now and the date on which the new law will be enacted by Parliament. Substantive amendments have been made to the Indian Penal Code. While the recommendations of the Justice Verma Committee on punishment have been accepted, death has been prescribed as a maximum punishment in the case of rape, followed by injury which causes death or causes the victim to be in a persistent vegetative state. Death has also been prescribed as the maximum punishment in the case of a second conviction for the offense of sexual assault or aggravated sexual assault. Besides, the ordinance contains provisions amending the Code of Criminal Procedure and the Indian Evidence Act. These amendments are intended to protect the dignity of the victim, restrain any police excesses, and facilitate better recording of evidence. These provisions will ensure fair and speedy trial of such cases and more stringent punishment to the convicted persons. Accordingly, after careful consideration, the Cabinet approved a draft ordinance and advised the President to promulgate the same. The President promulgated the ordinance yesterday. I may point out that another bill to amend the criminal laws is pending in Parliament. That is the Criminal Law Amendment Bill 2012, which was introduced in the Lok Sabha on 4th December 2012 and referred to the Standing Committee. The ordinance that was promulgated yesterday contains 22 clauses. Of these, 11 clauses have been taken from the pending Criminal Law Amendment Bill, either wholly or substantially. I may note that the Justice Verma Committee also agreed with these clauses, and hence there is broad convergence between the provisions taken from the pending Criminal Law Amendment Bill and the recommendations of the Justice Verma Committee. A part of one clause has been taken from the definition clause of the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012. The remaining clauses reflect the recommendations of the Justice Verma Committee. Let me emphasize that the ordinance is only the starting point of a legislative process. It begins with Article 123 and will end when a bill is passed by Parliament under Article 107 and such bill is assented to by the President under Article 111. I would therefore like to emphasize that the legislative process is not yet complete. I would appeal to everyone to allow the legislative process to be completed in the forthcoming session of Parliament. It would not be correct to say that any recommendation of the Justice Verma Committee has been rejected by the government. The correct position is that some recommendations of the Justice Verma Committee have not been incorporated in the ordinance because of divergence of opinion on issues. These issues require more consultations and deliberations. For example, on the presumption of consent, where a marital relationship exists between the complainant and the accused, what is referred to as marital rape, there is divergence of opinion. Similarly, there is divergence of opinion whether the age should be 16 years or 18 years for defining the offense of rape of an underage person. The Justice Verma Committee has recommended the creation of the offence of breach of command responsibility, amending section 197(1) of the Criminal Procedure Code relating to sanction, and amending the Armed Forces Special Powers Act 1958. These recommendations have far-reaching implications and have to be carefully considered after consulting the stakeholders concerned, including the armed forces and the police and paramilitary forces. Government wishes to assure everyone that further consultations will take place. There will be discussions with the political parties. There will be a debate in Parliament when the bill is introduced to replace the ordinance. These consultations, discussions and debate will afford ample opportunity to make changes in the ordinance which was promulgated yesterday. Government is confident that when the bill to replace the ordinance is introduced and passed in Parliament, the bill will reflect the broadest possible consensus on the imperative and urgent need to have an effective law to protect women and to punish crimes against women. Government welcomes suggestions from the public on the bill that will be introduced in Parliament to replace the ordinance.
Yes, please.
So what happens to the bill which has already been introduced? You plan to withdraw and bring an amended bill?
See, that bill is before the Standing Committee. And I understand that the Standing Committee is perhaps looking at that bill today and maybe another day. So, since many of the provisions of that bill have been lifted and incorporated in the ordinance, we will await the report of the Standing Committee, and if they recommend any changes to the clauses that have been lifted, and those changes are found acceptable, they will be incorporated when the bill is introduced. So, we are actually running on two parallel tracks, so let's wait to get the report of the Standing Committee.
Yes.
Today, death as a punishment is on India's statute book. For murder, for example, death is the punishment. Likewise, death is a punishment for several other offences. The Supreme Court has said, where death is a punishment, it can be awarded only in the rarest of rare cases. That principle is still intact. We have not touched that principle.
संसद में रखा जाएगा यह अध्यादेश और साथ ही वित्त मंत्री पी चिदंबरम ने यह कहा कि जस्टिस जे.एस. वर्मा की किसी भी सिफारिश को नकारा नहीं गया है, भले ही उसे अध्यादेश में शामिल न किया गया हो।